Hong Kong government to lead political reform consultation. No change to power company's rate of return. And suspect arrested in Paris shooting spree. Good evening. Two top mainland officials of the Basic Law Committee began their three-day visit to Hong Kong today. They met with Secretary for Justice Rim-Kee-Yoon this afternoon and talked about the territory's constitutional reform. Yoon said afterwards the SAR government will lead the consultation work. Jenny Lam reports. Meanwhile, pan-democrats feel they've been deliberately sidelined while Li Fei has been in town. They say if Beijing truly wishes to consult the Legislative Council on constitutional reform, it shouldn't do so on a selective basis. Members of the Alliance for True Democracy are not happy with the arrangements for the three-day visit by Basic Law Committee Chairman Li Fei and Vice Chairman Zhang Rongshun. They feel the visit is an important opportunity for dialogue and that their camp is being intentionally left out.
We are very disappointed with the existing arrangements. We believe that at least these two gentlemen should arrange to meet all legislators who represent the entire electorate of the community. We hope that this is not going to be a one-sided dialogue.
Cheng also expressed concerns the central government might simply announce its position on the reform process in an attempt to constrain the consultation process in Hong Kong. Legislator Alan Leung accused Chief Secretary for Administration Carrie Lam of political bias and of not fulfilling her duties as head of the SAR task force charged with arranging the consultation process on political reform. But despite having been largely sidelined during Li Fei's visit, the Alliance for True Democracy points out that when the time comes to make a final decision on constitutional reform, all legislators and not just some will have their say.
Well, ultimately, we understand the Legislative Council still has a role to play. Any reform proposal must still go through the Legislative Council.
Amnesty International says Indonesian domestic workers in Hong Kong are living in slave-like conditions. In a report titled "Exploited for Profit Failed by Government," the human rights group describes how recruitment and placement agencies, both in Indonesia and in Hong Kong, first attract the workers here with the promise of high salaries, then take away their passports and charge them excessive fees. 2/3 of the Indonesian maids interviewed revealed that they had been subjected to some kind of psychological or physical abuse. The majority also reported working extremely long hours, 17 hours a day on average. These practices, according to Amnesty, are best described as forced labour and trafficking, and the governments in Jakarta and Hong Kong are doing nothing about it. The government and the city's two power companies have agreed to maintain the permitted rate of return at 9.99% for the next 5 years. But academics say if the rate stays the same, CLP Power is expected to raise its electricity charges by 4 to 5% next year. Rani Santani reports. A US congressional panel says China's rapid military buildup is altering the strategic balance of power in the Asia-Pacific. It says unless Washington maintains its security commitments, China will have more warships in the region than the United States. Tony Sabine reports. After a 2-day nationwide manhunt, Paris police arrested a suspect in Monday's shooting spree that saw a newspaper photographer seriously wounded. And as Alan Buckney reports, the man arrested spent 4 years in jail after being convicted of being an accomplice in another high-profile shooting in 1994. The Pakistani schoolgirl, who now stands as a symbol of resistance to the Taliban's efforts to deny women education, was given this year's Human Rights Award by the European Union. Sonia Artero has more. And in sports, Uruguay has grabbed the last of 32 spots for next year's World Cup in Brazil. The South Americans completed a 5-0 aggregate win over Jordan. Jameson Wong has more. And tonight's winning Mark 6 numbers are 3, 6, 8, 23, 25, 49, and the extra number is 4. To the weather now, mainly cloudy with 1 or 2 light rain patches overnight. The low will be about 19 degrees with a high of around 22 degrees. That's the news. Thanks for watching. Good night.